Okay, well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the program, my guest tonight is Brian Ferguson. Say hi, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
And Brian's kind of a funny guy compared to some of the bands that I have on the show, in that you don't really do a lot of, you're not really out there in the public much these days.
No, not really. I did try to get something going back in the past, but nobody ever really had much interest in it at the time, and just life in general kind of takes over. And
yeah, well, a band takes a big commitment. It takes up a lot of time.
Right.
It's not just going out and doing the gig. You got to rehearse.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a whole thing. But you did play in the past with some different bands.
Yeah, a couple different bands, some cover bands. The most recent one was Heavy Attraction. And I was with them for about 8 years. And for me at the time, it was basically my job as well. I started with them when I was just finishing up my last years in high school and went through college with them. And of course, I grew up with their kids, so they were about, well, the next youngest one was 15 years older than I was. And I just looked at myself, hey, I'm the hired help. You guys just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it.
Well, that's cool. And then, but you've kind of kept your fingers in the music thing, and you've been putting music together for a while. And
well, yeah, my whole family on my dad's side is musically inclined. Dad played for 25 years professionally. He was on the circuit through Big Sky Agency that sent him from Portland to Alaska. And he was part of the American Federation of Musicians Union, and that was really the only way the big bands, or the bands, could get into the big union clubs back then.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
It's been a while since the union was able to throw any weight around.
Right. So I just grew up in it, and from the stories I was told, I was 9 months old when first time I started playing drums. The band was at the house rehearsing, and during the break, the drummer would just sit me on the lap, and I'd just start banging away, right? At about 2 years of age, we actually have old reel-to-reel recordings of me just on an old Nerf soccer ball with a plastic red hammer, keeping a basic, simple rhythm. And then by the time I was 5, my dad bought me my own drum kit, and I could keep simple beats and just build up from there. But eventually, around 12 years old, I was just getting tired of just playing drums. So I started branching out, learning everything else, because Dad had the guitars, he had PA systems, he had amplifiers, bass guitars. Grandmother had pianos and things like that. And so I just basically taught myself to how to play everything by ear. I never really got interested into reading sheet music, and it just kind of grew from there.
Well, and on the recordings we're going to hear, you've played everything.
Yeah, I've done everything on all the recordings. There may be one that we could get to where I had a good friend of mine do the vocals, but we'll just have to see what time is available for everything.
Well, I tell you what, here we go. This is Brian Ferguson. Here's a song of Brian's called "The Chosen One." Well, there we go, Brian Ferguson. Now that's part of a kind of a work that you put together, isn't it?
That started out back in 2000. I had just finished up my first attempt at creating a full CD of 8 songs, and I wasn't really sure what to do after that, but I knew I wanted to do more. And at the time, I was actually watching a lot of Alice Cooper concert DVDs, as well as listening to a number of his albums. And I thought, you know what? If I could do my own thing, I'd like to do something like that.
Like Alice.
And that's where this whole thing kind of started right here. But there's so many different facets that came in to make it what it is, that it's not just one thing. It was like, yeah, I want to do a big kind of a theatrical rock kind of production if I could. But at the same time, I was also trying to figure out what could I do that I might be able to like just get my father to say, hey, you know, that was actually pretty good, instead of telling me, oh yeah, it was all right, and then saying to other people back, yeah, it was actually pretty good. You know? And then a couple more things where it was just I didn't know where to go with it. I didn't know how to start it. Didn't even know what to call it, and I started just trying to find something for inspiration, and I happened to be looking at my Ozzy Osbourne CDs, and there's one CD, Blizzard of Oz. Every time I look at it, I always think of another album of his, Diary of a Madman, and for whatever reason, no rhyme or reason, my brain just put together, delve deep inside the mind of a madman. And I went, well, whatever, that might work. Let's try and do something with it.
Okay, and so that's what the work is called, Delve Deep
Inside the Mind of a Madman, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, this CD was never really intended to be released or anything yet. It was actually meant to be used to help people I might find that wanted to do the show with me as a learning tool. Look, this is the idea I wanted to do. We can try and refine it or whatever and shorten it down, but it is what it is now.
So these are kind of demos then, basically.
Basically, yeah. I started out just recording on an old 4-track cassette recorder, and then later on, as I acquired more gear, I down-mixed everything onto a digital multi-track system and finished it up with that. So it's kind of a hybrid system.
Well, the next song we're going to listen to here, Brian, is a song called Crazy. Was this inspired by an Ozzy Osbourne album?
Actually, no. That was just where I was just trying to figure out where to go next with the story. And it's got more of a classic 70s pop rock feel to it. But a number of people I talked to, they actually liked it, so I figured I'd include it with this session we're doing here today.
Okay, well, here we go.
Could you just start from the beginning?
From the beginning? Well, I was thrown in an orphanage. The sisters kept a room of living dead. They spoke to me while I lied awake in bed, and ghosts were dancing in the highway. You must be crazy. You must be crazy. You must be crazy. Things and started heading downstairs, but my roommate wouldn't let me, so I smacked his head against the rail. You did what? And later I met a mysterious friend. He introduced me to a man named Sin. I want to lead up to the promised land, so they first step I didn't mind one. You must be crazy. You must be crazy. You must be crazy. Unfortunately, I fear that the young man's accident caused serious trauma to his head, and as a result, it seems that he is suffering from delusions. As to the severity, I just don't know. He may have some serious brain damage and may never be able to function properly again. I recommend we put him in a straitjacket, sedate him, and leave him here for further observation. Straitjacket? Sedate me? You can't do that. You don't understand. He'll kill us all. He's after me. You gotta let me go. Get him. Don't let me get away. Don't worry, son. It's pretty open. But I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. You think I must be crazy. But I know I'm not crazy.
Well, I know it's all you, Brian, but it sounds like 1,000 people in there with you. You know, it's pretty crazy. Well, you really studied the technical end of recording then.
Well, it was something I felt like I had to do since I was the only one there doing everything, and I wanted to be able to create something that could sound just as good as coming out of any professional multi-million-dollar studio when I'm just working out of my bedroom in a garage.
So when you're doing the recordings, what do you lay down first?
Depends on what I'm doing. If it's all on a digital system, I'll usually lay down the instrument that has the most driving factor to it, whether it's going to be the guitars or the bass or something like that in the background, and then I'll do the drums later.
Do you use a click track when you're doing those?
I do on the digital system, and I try to do it later on with the stuff I've done on analog because it helps me out for when I'm using drums and stuff. It's easier to stay in time and rather than going, okay, I came in a little early that time with the guitar, and so my drum beat's a little off now. And
I see.
And so, yeah, the click track makes it a lot easier, but it's not always something that's necessary. If you lay the drums down first, or at least in my opinion, I don't need a click track then because there they are. That's my click track when I'm recording everything else.
Well, in the early days, you were recording the guitar and things first because you would have a loss of quality kind of on tape?
Yeah, generally, it's I figured out since the guitars and the bass, and if you do keyboards and stuff, they work within a frequency range that works better for tapes than, say, the high end or low end. So you can continue to overdub with those, bounce them from track to track without losing much signal. And you can always compensate then by doing cutting your EQ frequency in certain places rather than trying to boost everything you've lost in the process. Because when you're boosting everything you lost in the process, that's where all your noise and everything starts coming in, and you start hearing problems in the tape itself, and that's just no good.
Yeah, I can see how you drive yourself crazy.
Right.
All right. Well, this next song is called "The Dance." Where does it come from?
It's actually would be off the same album, "Delve Deep Inside the Mind of a Madman," and it's a few songs later from the last one we just heard, but this one actually is more of a kind of a show tune vaudevillian kind of feel to it, because right now I'm just kind of demonstrating the three different main types of styles in music that this whole album encompasses, and
okay,
hopefully some people are like this, and I know a number of people that online have told me they like it, so we'll see how it flies over on the radio here locally.
Mother, shall we dance? Well, hello, Mother. How you doing? My, you look lovely in that dress you're wearing, though you seem a bit peaked and thin. Are you eating well? No matter. We'll take care of that later. How have I been doing, you ask? Oh, fine. Couldn't be better. Just as happy as a bird. No worries in the world, you see. I've got
spiffed up in a tux. My, what's the occasion? I haven't seen you like this since, well, in my entire life. What have I been up to, you ask? Oh, not much of anything, to tell the truth. Just trying to stay alive. But I guess you really wouldn't know too much about that, now would you?
I've been down one road and another. I've hit rock bottom and been there since. I've seen the bottom of every bottle, but they still haven't got me yet.
All right, well, there we go. Another song by Brian Ferguson, my guest tonight. Boy, Brian, you do a lot of different stuff. And
I try to.
pretty crazy. So anyway, that was off kind of your a big work. And we got
Right.
some other stuff we're going to hear here. What was your inspiration behind, like, Give It to Me?
Well, Give It to Me, the music styles of these are more modern, hard rock sounds, but the track itself was more inspired by a story I heard from a friend. Somebody he knew actually went down to Seattle when they were 15, 16 years old, and they stayed down there for about a week, and then they ended up coming back, and they were addicted to heroin. And what this track is more like the view through the dealer's viewpoint. They're the push or whatever. Like, they don't care what happens to you or whatever. As long as you just give them the money, they'll just keep giving you whatever you want.
Okay, well, let's give it to him.
little box on TV.
With 40 others just like you, a group of merry souls.
Do you still wanna fly?
Well, I still hear you can have it, just drop on by.
Enough to meet a pass to a girl.
I'll be waiting right here, right in your hood.
I'll see you, I will miss you, there's plenty more.
I'll just start over with a young village of home.
Well, there we go. Well, Brian, you cover a lot of bases. I got to say that for you. Lots of different kinds of stuff.
Well, thank you.
So you've put together some original stuff. Are you constantly working even now on new material?
Yeah, I've got 3 different projects going on music-wise, different styles and whatnot. But I'm kind of like some other big bands who will tell you they're big procrastinators. I mean, I can really only do it when the inspiration hits me, and then there's also everything else in life that's taken place. Like, got to spend time fixing cars and do this and do that. You know? So music is something that I try to fit in, but sometimes it has to go on the back burner.
Tough, huh? Okay, well, we got to get into this last song. This last song is called Last Train to India. What inspired you to write this one?
Really, it was just ended up being a filler track on the first CD that I tried to put out, and I was trying to think of what I need to do, and I had some ideas from when I was a kid that had kind of I used a sitar sound from a keyboard, and I said, okay, we'll try something like that. And I just started composing everything into my head. And that title at the time was just something that popped in to fit within the rhythm and the music at the point. And so I just tried to write around it and make it work. Well, some people actually really liked it. Other people got the wrong idea about it. And it's kind of just one of those hit and miss tunes. But this is a rework of it. And it's actually come out to sound pretty good. And a lot of people have had some good responses for it.
This is our destiny. We start a billions in it just for fun. We'll get the rest with a neutron bomb. Let's try to run, cause soon we'll get ya. We're gonna spread you between heaven and hell.
Well, I tell you, Brian, some of the stuff. Well, the whistle's just going on and on. Anyway, you've put together quite a body of work, sort of in your spare time as a hobby.
Basically, yeah.
Which is amazing. Well, I tell you what, we've gone on and on here, and I've got to get back. I got some more stuff to do, but I really appreciate you've decided to come up and be on the program. And,
no, I thank you for having me. This is basically a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for some of us.
So it's been fun. All right, well, Brian Ferguson, my guest tonight. Maybe one of these days he'll be back. It sounds like he's putting stuff together, but stick around because I'm going to be back with more great music from the Northwest.